I was asked to speak about how to destabilize the candidate Macron through social media during the electoral French campaign. For the beginning, I want to say that social media are used now by many citizens and activists in order to make fun of political staff and of the media. And so beyond ideological criticism of the candidates' programs, mockery is omnipresent on social media. And it affects everyone, from the extreme left to the extreme right, because these attacks are the sign of a deep distrust vis-à-vis the entire political staff in France, and not only in France. But in France, this practice is very widespread, especially as it corresponds to a very old cultural background. Cultural background with the cartoons of the press, of which Charlie Hebdo is the heir, the political chansonnier also, or the political puppets on TV. So it's very important to have this on mind, because I can say that there is a true culture of democracy now on social media, not democracy, but democracy, and a lot of people express this distrust against all the politicians with humor and with irony. So I give you some example to illustrate that fact, and I want to precise immediately that I make a difference precisely between I make a difference between those examples to mock candidates, every candidate, and the other operations with the aim to destabilize candidates. And we have the example of Emmanuel Macron. And to destabilize, it's not only humor, but it's also fake news, rumors, etc. So it's different, okay? I make a difference, and I think it's important to make a difference because I have heard of people that doing no difference between humor and fake news. So some example coming from France, parodic accounts. So it's a former sustain of Sarkozy. So the only time Sarkozy will bring down crime is when he will go to court. And of course, it's a transparent allusion to the various legal proceedings for the financing of his electoral campaigns. Another example, a lot of mockery are against pollsters, of course. So you can see that we have no trust on pollsters because they are totally blind. Okay. It's very important. Many internet users like to merge two faces to show the resemblance between the merged people. Here, as you can see, we have Putin and Marine Le Pen. Okay, we have here the parody of a famous election poster of François Mitterrand in 1981, the quiet force, and is the quiet fraud. Okay, another example, sorry, it's a mistake. Here is a netizen love a lot of Marine Le Pen, who completely missed a televised debate with Macron, resulting of 0 mark, for instance. Okay, all this kind of humor with image is very important on social media concerning now every election in France and in every country. So, what is the real problem with fake news and malicious rumors to destabilize a candidate? This is the case of Macron. We can see here that all shots are allowed, because here is the capture of a private conversation on 4chan between two anonymous persons who try to invent a rumor against Emmanuel Macron, saying that he has a sex affair with the wife's daughter, because they have the same age. The daughter of his wife has the same age of him, because you know there is a big difference between him and his wife. So they try to invent this kind of rumor. It was not the case, fortunately, but we can you have to be aware of the fact that they discuss and they test privately the kind of rumors. We have a lot of rumors during this election against Emmanuel Macron. He would wash his hand after shaking hands with workers, for instance, and he has an offshore account hidden to the tax office. He is for the restoration of Sharia, the Islamic law in the island of Mayotte, that is in the south of. It's well, never mind. What are the mechanisms to spread this kind of rumor? We have an example. The beginning of a rumor is this tweet for a far-right activist that interpret abusively an article in the French famous media with the idea that he foments something. So he introduced the rumor. And after, we launched the offensive with an article on a not very famous underground media coming from the extreme right, okay, saying that Macron tried to invent a Macron tax for holders of apartment or houses. So it's totally fake, it's totally false, and he deleted since the first article, but the week after, with the famous tape of orchestration, well known for propaganda, a set of articles of different far-right websites, what we call in France fasciosphere, publish this information. And at the end, we have political recovery, since some well-known politicians refer not to the rumor, but quoting the media. Of course, media, it depends what we call media, but they present themselves as media, okay? And for instance, and they made this rumor an argument during the campaign. And here we have the example of the support page, Facebook pages to Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, okay? But and for instance, another example is the imitation of a known information site, Le Soir. Le Soir is famous in Belgium, and they created a false website page, not lesoir.be, but lesoir.info. Okay? So it's impossible to make the difference if you don't go to see the URL. Okay? So they use exactly the facial replica of the homepage of the Belgian site, intended to give a serious bond to false information. Okay? And in this case, it was the idea that Saudi Arabia funded the campaign of Emmanuel Macron, of course, and it allowed Marion Maréchal Le Pen, the niece of Marine Le Pen, to tweet a link to this article, okay? And tweet was deleted after, of course. When it was debunked, she said, "Oh, okay, it was a mistake. It was impossible to notice that it was a false." Okay, so it's always the same schema. Okay, but the most destabilizing operation comes on the evening of the TB debate, and 2 days later, while the channel Russia Today has announced for several weeks that WikiLeaks held documents compromising for the candidate Macron, it is only 4 days before the election that something was published, and the beginning was with the debate. During the debate, Marine Le Pen launches a treacherous remark, hoping that, I quote, we were not going to learn soon that Mr. Macron had an offshore account in the Bahamas, or I do not know where, okay? And Macron, the answer of Macron is, be careful, because it's not legal what you are saying, so be careful of what you are doing. But these rumors, had not begun during the debate, because 2 hours before the debate, in 4chan, coming from United States of America, we discovered this link to present the fact that we have the proof that Emmanuel Macron had an account hidden on Evil Island. I think, and they created the hashtag Macron cash to facilitate the popularization of the attack. But it was not success. It was not, sorry, a success. So the manipulation continued 2 days after with a new hashtag. And it was more popular in this case. It was Macron leaks. I think you have heard of it. Macron leaks. Macron leaks. And I think it's very important and very interesting to use leaks, because the false idea is the name. Leaks is when something is leaked by a whistleblower or something like this. But in this case, it was not a whistleblower. They stole some documents on the Macron's team, and by phishing the emails. So it's not a leak. It's a robbery. It's nothing more. So it begins with Jack Posobiec, who were very active. He was a pro-Trump activist during the US electoral campaign. And Jack Posobiec was also very, very active in France against Emmanuel Macron, because Emmanuel Macron was the candidate of open society, of European Union, and free market, okay? So they launched these tweets, Macron leaks, correspondence document, photos coming from his team, to prove that he acted illegally, and his team also. So we have a lot of dissemination of this first tweet on the Jacob Sobiech sphere, of course. And it was very important because WikiLeaks complacently relays the rumor. And we can say that WikiLeaks quickly makes its contribution to this fake news, because he announced less than an hour after the pseudo-revelation coming from Jack Posobiec that he investigates. Okay, we investigate about the document. But the way to do it, it's not a way to say to people, okay, stop your mind, we will verify, and after you can have a good idea if it's real or not. In the way they do it, on the contrary, they permit some person to believe on the rumor and to believe on the fake news, in fact. So after that, you can see that WikiLeaks was very important to share the fake news, like Posobiec. And after, the same mechanism, right-wing sites continued the work of reporting this dirty information. And in this case, you could appreciate how they say, we are unable to verify authenticity, but it seemed to indicate that Emmanuel Macron, so they say exactly the contrary on the same words, okay? We are not sure of nothing, but it seems that, okay? So it's really the way they use this bad news. And after, Druz, of course, delayed the article. Just one day after, they say, okay, it was a mistake, it was impossible to verify, but now we know that we have verified, so we delayed the article. But of course, they delayed too late. And for instance, the same mechanism, political recovery, here by the number two of the National Front, Florian Philippot. Will Macron leaders learn things that investigative journalism deliberately ignore? It's always the same way. Distrust against media, okay? Scary this democracy thinking, okay? It's totally absurd because they are working for democratic thinking, okay? And to finish, I have to present the process of the manipulation of Macron leaks. Phishing members' emails of the team Macron, publication on social media of those emails and the documents associated to give the impression of authenticity, of course, and they add fake documents with those real documents in the mass of real documents. And after WikiLeaks and other partisan media publish only the more scandalous documents, okay? They forget, of course, the real documents, and after politicians exploit those revelations. So, fake news example, coming from the documents of Macron leaks, we have a false list of generous donors for the campaign, and it is an anti-Semitic list, as you can see, of course. And, for instance, a false payslip for the Macron campaign manager, okay, saying that he earned a lot of money. And we have also this fake news. His team buys drug for Macron, okay? But in this case, what is interesting, it's a fake news. It's a fake news because the Macron team anticipate the fact that phishing would be possible. So they create false emails and saying that if there is some phishing, they will publish it and it will be easy for us to prove that it's not a real information, okay? It's a little bit... I'm not sure that it's a real solution for everybody, but we can try to do it, okay? And fortunately, a lot of journalists and internet citizens, je vais y arriver, publish analysis of the metadata. And very quickly. So we can, for instance, prove that the document that was presented as a proof of the creation of something, a firm by Macron, was false because with the uses of some software, it's very easy to prove that it was just a fabrication, a forgery, okay? And as you can see here, in blue. And to end, I was too long, the traces here of that lead to Russia. I said that for weeks ago, we can find easily some announcements of what will happen about fake news. For instance, on RT France, okay, saying that WikiLeaks finds something. What? We don't know exactly, but we will have the answer later. And we can find also traces of Russia to relay political accusation, okay? So Emmanuel Macron is agent of lobbying for bank interest, of course. And we can find traces for sharing and dissemination of this fake news, because we have a lot of false accounts that are linked to the troll factory coming from Russia and that use bots to promote fake news, and also traces to make fake misleading documents. Certain metadata permit to observe that Russian language is used when they forge the fake news. Okay, so it's a little bit strange why the Macron's team use Russian language on their metadata of their file. Okay, and at the end, another metadata is very interesting. It reveals that Georgy Petrovich is author of the data. Okay, so who is Georgy Petrovich? Is an employee of Eureka in Russian, a big Russian computer security company whose links with the secret service of the country are undeniable, because we can find, and French media prove that Georgy Petrovich is very close to Russian services. Conclusion, lessons from the French presidential election. Since Emmanuel Macron was particularly targeted, this is the reason why he decided to vote a bill against fake news, and we're debating now, today, in the French Parliament of a future bill against fake news. But I have to say that it raises a lot of debate in France, okay, because of free speech, of course. Second conclusion, the far right is well connected with a laundering circuit of dirty information. I call it laundering circuit of dirty information, like dirty money, okay, laundering money, because as you can see, there is mechanism to go progressively from the grassroots activists to the official politician. Third, Russia is clearly implicated on those operations. And four, accounts active on the American alt-right are connected with bots and false accounts sustained by Russian interests. So I asked the question, why there is so many connection between the alt-right in United States of America and Russia? Thank you very much.